For many years now, Russ and Craig have had many wide-ranging conversations with folks from all over the gaming world. This is one of those conversations.
D6G, the Lost Chapter.
So what I'm thinking is, look out, a beast!
What? That is no. That is not the way. Oh,
what? It
is a quote.
That's what you're supposed to say. That was
throw him to the beast.
Toss right to you.
Throw him to the beast. First of all, wrong quote. Second of all,
I did.
Where's the donut reference?
I would like a donut, please. Where's the beast?
Sorry, the beast ate them all. See, that's how you do it. That's how you do it. See?
Whatever, Russ knows everything. Okay. You know what?
Don't get me started.
No, it's a good thing Granger isn't here, or he'd back me up on this. Oh, wait. Hey, Rafe!
I am here.
Who's right, Rafe? Who did a better solo quote there? Me or Rafe?
I'm really dying to know what you guys are going to think I think about Solo. Especially
right.
as you know, I don't like...
We decided on this topic. I have been wondering what you thought about Solo.
Yeah. Before we get there, though, Rafe, I have to buy you a beverage. What would you prefer from Dunkin' Donuts here?
I would like a iced coffee, skim milk, and sugar.
All right. And secondly, before we get started, we should warn all of our listeners that this will be spoiler-filled.
Yes.
That's a great point.
All of us have seen the film. We're gonna spoil it. This is not a movie you want spoiled.
No.
I'm sure if you're a Solo fan, Han Solo fan, or a Star Wars fan, Han Solo. I also love that part of the movie. Right, they correct the pronunciation.
Yes, that was awesome.
Over and
so many good things like that. Yes, so many fun parts. But yeah, so if you've not seen the movie yet for some weird reason, pause this, go watch it, then come
Yes, indeed.
Yep.
So, Rafe, do you want us to guess how you felt about it, or you want to tell us?
Well, I just want to lay this out there for listeners. I'm a person who likes the prequels, all three of them. Mm-hmm. I am a person who did not like Episode 7 at all with a passion, and mildly like Episode 8.
What about Rogue One?
Loved it.
Okay.
I think you loved Solo.
Me too.
I did.
Aha!
Ta-da!
I loved it. And
you're kind of like a Star Wars fan.
Han's not my favorite guy. Like, I'm not like back in the day. What's that?
You're like a hipster Star Wars fan. You're cool because you like things other people don't like.
Yeah, I guess. I was a Luke Skywalker fan. I always liked Luke over Han.
Yeah, well, Luke. So let me ask you this: what were your expectations going?
My expectations were good.
Yeah or no?
No, my expectations were going to be that it would be good like Rogue One was. Mm-hmm. So I was expecting a good movie. So I had pretty good expectations. I've read a lot about the Twitter articles and the articles about how, is this the end for Disney, and Ron Howard, and, explains to the fans, sorry. And I'm like, guys, what is all the fuss about? Who cares? Oh, they only made $232 million. Whatever. They're going to make 1,800 gajillion on the back end, I'm sure. But it's like, it still was a good movie. I don't understand the negativity. What did people want? Here's what they're saying. They're saying it, quote, pandered to the audience, like how Han got his name. Like, Russ, did you like how he got his name?
That didn't bother me.
Me neither. I loved it.
Yeah, why does that matter?
People think that's so cheesy. They're like, give me a break.
Why?
The guy, just the Imperial officer's like, oh, I know what I'll call you, Han Solo. I'm like, so what? That's fun. It's a movie.
Yeah. Really? That's the biggest problem?
Things like that. Right. The other problems I've heard is, what's Han really doing running around in all the base of the army stuff, and like how he meets Chewbacca, Chewbacca's like a pretty sophisticated character, but they portrayed him as like this idiot, walking, like almost like the snow beast in the Luke Skywalker one.
Did they portray him that way? I didn't think Chewbacca came across that way, though.
Yeah, kind of like how he was eating in the mud, and
he was starving. He was a
that's how
he wasn't eating. That was the point,
right?
Exactly.
I mean, I thought it was like a human trapped in a basement.
I just don't have those kind of problems. But I am a guy who admittedly likes the movie Bring It On, the cheerleading movie. So
That's always what it comes down to, really.
Yeah, it does.
But I like simplistic movie. I don't mind. It doesn't have to be complicated for me.
Mm-hmm.
How can a Han Solo movie be complicated? I mean, that's the whole point.
I think that
it was pretty much as complicated as you could get, given the character, right? Like Han Solo is not a complicated guy, right? I mean, really, I mean, he's a little complex, but in the end, you're not really expecting, James Bond here. He's a kind of a lovable scoundrel,
right? The lovable,
exactly what he is. Yeah, he's the lovable scoundrel. I thought they did a really good job at all the layers.
Me too.
Like I almost couldn't imagine it. And first of all, what the hell's wrong with fan service?
Right. Yes, right? I feel that way too.
You're literally making these movies for the fans. I mean,
right.
This isn't art for art's sake.
Correct.
This isn't like social statement stuff. This is Star Wars, right? At this point, you're making these movies, and as long as they're fun and they're not skimping on the budget, so they're cool to watch, you're in my wheelhouse. I don't care, right? I don't need this to be like some kind of deep, meaningful story.
Right.
I thought what was interesting about Rogue One is they actually got to like meaningful war movie level in the Star Wars universe, which was really interesting, but they don't all have to be that way. They, some of them can be fun.
I think what's missing is where people are going wrong is in their expectations. I think what they're doing is great. What they're building genre movies in Star Wars universe. This is heist and outlaw movie. Right. And my favorite thing that this movie did, you knew the stakes were not going to be that high. Right. Han Solo lives, Chewbacca lives, everything else is fair game, but you know that they're going to live and they're going to be fine because they're fine, 10 years down the road. I thought they did a great job first taking your expectations and kind of spinning them. You had a bunch of ideas of things you wanted to learn about. Well, it's all kind of weird and wacky and it's, and I thought adding Khaleesi in there, first she's like a red herring and then she turns and then she's an ally and then she's, at the end, what is she? And at the same time, like she clearly has feelings for him, but at the same time, she's going to look out for herself. And then there's Darth frickin' Maul. I mean, we can talk about that later. But I love, that's where all of your surprises and your blasted expectations came.
They were kind of saying that she was sort of wooden. I'm like, she was great.
She was great.
I don't think
suck it up, people.
Oh,
she was great.
She was fine.
I agree. You know what, Craig? You just explained it to me. You're right. We all know there's not a surprise, right? We all know there's a Millennium Falcon and there's a Han Solo. Yep. But what we don't know is how he got all that. And I like how they delivered it. I loved how he got his name. I loved Lando. Danny Glover as him was like awesome.
Oh, he was amazing. He definitely deserves his own film. That was fantastic.
God, he's so good. Yeah. She was good. I don't know her true act.
The droid L3 or whatever. Was awesome.
She was fantastic.
Oh my God.
Did you guys see that little Easter egg about C-3PO? Did you guys read about that?
No.
So there's a line in I think it's A New Hope where I may be wrong on this, but you'll know the scene where C-3PO speaks to the Millennium Falcon to get
yes.
Yep, and she says, "Man, what a strange dialect your ship has."
Yes. Yeah,
that's
right,
her.
Right. They explain why the ship is finicky, right?
Yeah. So that I love that, how clearly they made that happen that way, but who cares? Like, that's awesome to tie that in like that.
Right. I love that he starts out with a love interest.
Yep.
But in my head, I'm like, that can't last because then that's going to cheapen the whole Leia thing. And I thought because by the end of the movie, not only does he not have a love interest, he's been betrayed.
Right.
Like, now he's this scarred individual that has a reason to be.
He's been doubly betrayed by his father figure mentor, the Woody Harrelson character.
Yep. Right.
Who he shot first, by the way.
Right.
He was awesome. I didn't know he was going to be in the movie, and he shows up, and I'm like, I love this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I thought too, the whole they set up the Heart of Gold with her too, right? Like she doesn't run with him because she knows he can't be as bad as she needs to be.
Right.
Like they set that all up. Several times she points out, you're a good guy.
What you really are.
Yeah, you're a good guy.
Oh, you're right.
And you'll always be a good guy. Right. And so her way out is to be bad.
Yeah.
Right. She does clearly she does bad things. And so what you've got here is a story that shows it's possible for someone to come from that world and be good.
Mhm.
And you eventually know where Han Solo ends up, and he's very good. He's literally has a hand in saving the universe. And meanwhile, you have another person who she's clearly going down the dark path, literally. So you have the light and darkness, like you see in all the Force Awakened characters, but you have it in here with normal people happening too, which is pretty interesting.
Yep.
So I thought that was really cool stuff happening.
And what I wonder too about this whole, like, it costs this much to make the movie's not making this much whole argument. I wonder if that's because they essentially had to make two films because Ron Howard had to go in and save it and make it the film it was. So kudos to Ron Howard. He should not apologize.
Yeah, I thought he did a great job. I loved it. I loved every bit of that film.
So Ron, when you're listening to this, I support you.
Yeah. Right. Go Ron.
Yeah. Yeah, I wonder if that's true too. If like the budget is inflamed because they had to remake a lot of it. Like the movie supposedly was 3/4 in the can, and good on the CEO whose name I can't recall, but she is the champion of these movies and of Disney, and she was like, "Yep, nope, pull the plug. That is not the movie we're going to make." After it's 3/4 of the way made, and those two directors who made it are really good directors. They just weren't making the type of movies that I guess she envisioned or the team envisioned.
Right. Well, they make funny movies, right? That's their main.
I don't know. I don't know their claim to fame.
I believe that's their claim to fame.
Yeah.
And what I think what they wanted, and I think what we all got was a movie with a lot more heart than that.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
It wasn't just a tongue-in-cheek, fun, rascally movie. I mean, he basically starts the rebellion, which I thought was awesome.
Yes.
He's the one who ultimately funds the beginning of the rebellion. And I just thought that was great because that so mirrors that moment on Yavin when he walks away.
Right.
With his payday. And it's almost like shot for shot that moment between him and Leia, right before him and I can't remember if it was Leia or Luke who's there at the end. On Yavin in the New Hope, but I just thought that was, at the end when Han's leaving,
right?
Like I'm not, this isn't my fight, and I have debts I have to pay, and which is awesome too because here he is always, I'm the rascal, I'm the bad guy, but he's not like leaving with this money because he's going to be rich. He's leaving with this money so he can get the price off his head, and. Another thing, because they tell him like, oh, once you learn how, you'll have a price on, you don't know what it's like to live with a price on your head, and
he
does, and
and it's Kathleen Kennedy who I'm thinking of. She's the president of Lucasfilm, and so there's like, does she need to step down? It's like all the Twitterverse and stuff, and I'm like, no. I'm like, get out of here. She's awesome. First of all, she's awesome even though I'm not a fan of 7 and 8, they're still good movies. I'm just not a fan of them, and she had the courage to be like, nope, that's not the movie we're going to make.
I just really liked it. You know what I liked about it too was there were so many cool, subtle references to things that are long-standing, and it's definitely fan service. But I loved it. There were so many references to long-standing fan debates that were just wonderful. So not only like the pronunciation, but like the Kessel Run being fixed.
Yeah.
Right. So the big thing about the Kessel Run is in the original, in A New Hope, when Luke Skywalker says, "Is it fast?" He said, "Yeah, it's the ship that did the Kessel Run in whatever is 12 parsecs." And now people who understand astronomy understand that a parsec is a distance and
that's
not
a real
time.
term?
Yeah. And so it bothers people. It's bothered people in science forever because that is distance and not time. And in this episode, they explain, they did a neat little twist with it by making it, no, it is distance. It's distance, but because of the danger and the nature of the place, you can never do it shorter than a certain distance. And Han Solo does it.
You have to go around the black hole.
Right. And so Han Solo figures out how to get through it.
Exactly.
Also, that's a nod to some of the, so even though, I think it's really interesting is even though Disney has blown out a lot of the novels as canon and said they're not canon, there are consistent nods in all these movies back to the novels.
Yep.
So the giant beastie inside the black hole, that's from a novel. The fact that Han Solo is in the army is in a novel. Han Solo is supposed to have been a stormtrooper some period of time.
Lando Calrissian is actually narrating one of the novels.
Right. So the fact, so they're doing all these great little nods to these things. And of course, as Craig already pointed out, having him shoot first at the end is perfect because it establishes as canon that Han Solo is the kind of person that in the right situation will shoot first.
Right. I didn't even catch that. Okay.
So that is awesome too. So like he's a good guy, but he'll do what it takes to do the right thing. Right.
Yeah.
So it's just a really, all those little things and the nod to Bosk and everything else is just really cool tie-ins. And then, of course, Darth Maul, which is a really interesting tie-in. So they've set it up too for, I know they're not really doing sequels, but they could do other movies about other characters that tie back to this stuff.
Yep.
And so what you got, what they're setting themselves up for is like, if they were to do a Lando movie, if they were to do a Boba Fett movie, if they were to do these other movies, they can have threads of these other characters now shifting in and out of them. Right. And so you're starting to see, you would see like, what is Darth Maul doing in the background? Is he going to be a protagonist now in several of these films? Or is it just
a protagonist?
Why not?
Darth Maul's a bad guy.
Is he not?
Protagonist would be the good guy.
It's a perspective thing, Craig. But in any case, he's causing trouble.
So you're expecting you're expecting a Darth Maul movie?
No, I don't know what I'm expecting.
It's an English distinction between protagonist and antagonist. But yeah, he's the main character.
Yes. An influential thing.
Yes.
Bad or good. I don't know if he's bad or good.
I didn't even catch, like, I knew it was Darth Maul, but I forgot that he got sliced in half. Like, I had to read why that was a big deal. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, they had his,
and he had
that's from
legs.
Well, that's another reference to Clone Wars because he's shown back up, or was it Rebels? Anyway, one of the shows,
Clone Wars,
one of the animated series, he's already shown up with his new legs.
Yeah.
So we already knew, if you watch those shows, we already knew he didn't die.
Yeah. That's what I read. I read that he doesn't die when he's sliced in half. He survives on rats.
These Force guys are hard to kill. And you burn them in lava, they come back. You cut them in half, they come back. You really got to decapitate them.
Yeah.
That's what I've learned.
Yeah.
They're like witches that
go for the head.
Yeah. And it was good. And when they had the cantina scene, it made sense. Unlike the other movies that have the cantina scene where I'm like, why are we going to a cantina? No reason to go there.
Right.
And this, there was a reason to go there because they're all gangsters. Yeah. It was awesome all the way around.
Yeah. I liked everything about it. I even liked the new and shiny Millennium Falcon and the whole like escape pod thing. And I like that the Falcon has all these different, beat up. I just, Lando was perfect. I thought the whole, I'm surprised it didn't do better. I don't know why.
Me too.
My only thinking on this is that the last Star Wars movie, The Last Jedi, was not wonderful. It was okay. I enjoyed it, but not my favorite Star Wars movie by any stretch. And so
that's what they're saying is one of the reasons.
So I think that just got people sort of less excited about Star Wars movies. And so it kind of maybe, took the bloom off the rose a little bit.
Well,
and because Rogue One had it going up, so everybody's like coming off of Rogue One, like, yeah. And then you go into Last Jedi, like, and now you're kind of in the awe state.
I think it's this. You got all of us kids all of us of our generation. And I don't mean to sound elitist about this. Star Wars is for everybody. Okay. You didn't have to watch it in the theater in 79 to love Star Wars. I'm not saying that. What I am saying is that our generation, I think it's only our generation that's going to see Han Solo compared to the Marvel universe, which is also getting comic geekdom, yes, and regular people. Mm-hmm. I don't think Han Solo is pulling in the regular people. It's just getting Star Wars fans. And so up against the Avenger, what is that? What it was up against? Was the Avengers?
Was it up against them?
But it was, I mean, no,
they were open at the same time, but I don't know if it was against them.
Deadpool and Infinity War. They were all.
That's what it was. Deadpool and Infinity War. Those movies, the Marvel universe, by the way, Disney, is pulling
Disney's
in like the regular populace, not just fans.
Well, I also don't forget Marvel's only 10 years old. So I say that because that means that if you were a teenager in the 2000s,
you mean the movies?
Well, that's right. I mean, well, yeah, of course. You're right, because the comics have been out forever. But the movies like Iron Man 1, the beginning of the cinematic universe, essentially, that was 2008, 9. So if you were a teenager then, you've grown up with these, and this is still peak for you, right? Whereas Star Wars has been around so long, it's almost like my daughters, I can take them to Star Wars, right? My youngest daughter could care less. I could leave her at home. She does not care. What's funny about my youngest daughter is she loves Firefly, right? Her biggest complaint about Solo was it was just Firefly. And I turned to her and said, yes, what's your point? I go, yes, it was Firefly. It was Firefly. Because Craig's point, it was a train heist. It was a train. My kid even said, if I wanted to see a train heist, I would have watched Firefly. I'm like, really? Okay. But you're right. But still, it's great. And my oldest daughter,
no troopers and droids and
yeah. But here's the thing. My oldest daughter, she likes some of the Star Wars and she likes the newer stuff. She loves Rogue One. She actually enjoyed The Last Jedi, and she really, really, really liked this one, Solo.
Yeah.
Her favorites are Rogue One and Solo. So for her, this is good stuff. So it's hitting the right place for her.
I agree.
And she's seen all the other Star Wars movies, but Han Solo's not like a big deal for her. But I still think that for her, she sees it because Dad is going. But they were both pumped for Infinity War. Like, could not wait to see Infinity War. Right.
Yeah, same with my daughter. But she loves
Star
Wars too, though.
Well, yeah. So I really think there is a thing going on there where it's a generational thing now, and there are some people who like both. Just like we liked Flash Gordon as kids, but that was really our parents' generation. Yeah. I think there's some of that
Flash Gordon
happening.
I think too. I have some colleagues or people in my business group that they're in their 30s. They're like 36, I think. And they're like, meh, Star Wars,
Yeah.
The whole thing, the whole franchise.
Yeah.
So I think that's why the numbers are low. And I think we're going to start seeing lower numbers. I think the next Star Wars will be lower because of that. I think the regular populace is going to be like, okay, that's not my cup of tea.
Yep.
That's just what I think. But anybody who hasn't, we told them not to listen to this, but I was just talking to Doc. He hasn't seen it yet. He's in that category where his kids are really little, so he doesn't. He's in that phase where he doesn't go out to movie theaters that much.
Can't get out. Right.
And I'm like, oh no, it was really great. Don't listen to any of the critics, and it's just it bothers me. This is why I don't like to read the news and stuff. I'm like, I feel like they're just complaining to make a headline.
Oh yeah, no, people want to be contrary. But that's always been a thing, right? But it's always been like, I remember when the very first Star Wars came out, critics didn't like it. It's not, these kind of movies are never critical. I mean, there are now a little bit more because they're more mainstream, I guess, but these kind of movies are never, I mean, it's a popcorn adventure film, right? It's not
exactly.
It's not like, deep stuff, and that's okay. I like those kind of movies. I like an action flick. I don't need every movie to be deep and meaningful and all that.
Right. And what's with all this like Twitter rage on the race thing? Like, come on.
Oh, I don't even know.
Why are people picking on people?
I don't know.
Drives me. It just gets me. I have to shut it off. I'm just shut up.
Yeah.
Keyboard warriors.
What's that?
Wacky keyboard warriors. They're just people
wacky keyboard warriors.
Just hammer at those keys, not realizing there's a human being on the other side of the screen, and nobody cares about their ridiculous opinions. So.
But apparently they do. They somehow get.
No, not really. I wouldn't worry about it. I would just say, go to it. I don't think any of that affected its box office numbers.
No, I'm not saying that. It's a separate.
I think Last Jedi wasn't as big as it could have been. You have a little dip. I think this could be not a cult classic, but it could be one of those movies that everybody really likes to watch and rent and download or whatever. But it didn't do as well at the box office because timing up against Avengers. Pick your reason. But I think it's a great Star Wars film, and if you have not seen it, you should, because it's just a wonderful experience.
Yep. I got a question for you guys. Is it just me, but I didn't catch, doesn't the Millennium Falcon in this movie have a point to it?
Waiting.
That's the
escape pod.
Escape shuttle.
That's the escape shuttle?
Yeah. Launch it in.
And when the escape shuttle runs away when it launches, that leaves the giant missing tooth in the front of the ship. That's the signature.
The notch or something. Yeah. They even say what it's called.
Yeah.
Oh, I totally missed that.
Lando's even bragging that he has I even fitted an escape shuttle in the mandibular hatch or something, whatever it is.
Well, the best part is you see several things get broken on the thing. So first, you'll notice there's only one turret instead of two.
Yep.
Later,
in there, it's a tiny little single gun.
It's a single gun instead of the quad guns. The sensor's still the same, which is great. And I love that. I think Woody Harrelson did an amazing job of being like like a Luke school. Like you could almost imagine Woody in that scene, like the actual actor going, "Oh my God, I get to do this!" Like like I think that was genuine. His moment in that turret, pretending, doing the same things that Luke did back in '79 or whatever. It's like, oh my God, that's awesome.
Oh, so, I see what you're saying.
You know what I mean? Like he's reliving, because it had the targeter and everything. He was like reliving that classic moment from Star Wars, A New Hope, and he got to be in that seat. But it was cool because they broke it off, so it got replaced later by the quad gun, and then they put one on the roof.
I love the crash after Kessel, when somehow managed to get a rotating hubcap into this massive crash of a spaceship, and there's just some round piece pops off and goes. It
was perfect. It was perfect.
I want to see.
Well, it was great. It was great that the healthy Falcon didn't even last one movie.
Right.
It didn't even. It was a wreck. It was a wreck by like halfway through the film.
And so, what's the timing again?
Mercenaries.
Yeah, right.
What's the timing of this? This fits in how many years? At like how long has Darth Maul been chopped in half?
Oh, a while.
Because that was Clone Wars, wasn't it?
Well, right. That's a whole. Annie's grown up, and Luke's been born. Well, pretty much, right? Because Han's only a little bit older than Luke, not much.
Yeah.
So
what is that? Like 20 years from?
Yeah, you have to look it online, but it's something like that.
All right. And then how long is it between that and A New Hope? Han Solo and A New Hope?
I don't think it's that long because I don't think it's that long. I mean, some years go by, obviously.
Like 5 years.
He has to do the thing with Jabba. They kind of imply he's going to do the thing for Jabba pretty soon, like at the end of the movie, right? It's like, I'm going to go to Tatooine. And so he's not that far away from getting into Hawk with Jabba. Now, but you get the feeling that he's been running away from Jabba for a little while at the start of A New Hope, but that could be months or it could be years. Right?
Okay.
So,
do you think that's where Han Solo 2 will come in? It'll be how he gets in.
Are they going to have a Han Solo 2? I don't think they are.
I've heard rumors that they are. I mean, they left everything open. They either left it open for more Han Solo movies or more Star Wars stories that could tie in, like as you.
Yeah, I see it'll be Lando with Han Solo being the sidekick instead of the other way around. Like Han Solo will show up in the Lando movie, or that kind of thing. That's where I think
Lando, isn't it Lando?
Yeah. No,
Lando.
Lando.
I love. He kept mispronouncing, and I loved his little trick sabak card thing and his.
Yes, that was awesome.
Yep, so good.
Yep. All good.
So good. I heard an interesting thing on the composer, too. So this composer named John Powell, they brought in to specifically make the Han Solo adventure movie. And I guess John Powell's known for making very vibrant action types of movies, soundtracks. I think he's done Bourne Identity and things like that. And John Powell comes in and he's like, well, John Williams is still alive. And he's like, how am I going to follow John Williams? And so he was making it John Williams-esque, but John Williams was also consulting. He was there to act as a consultant. And he basically told John, he's like, no, do what you do. Like make your theme music for this movie in the way that you would do it. Don't feel like you have to but show homage to me. And I thought that's really cool.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. I liked everything about it. I can't be more happy with this film.
Me too.
So online, everybody is basically saying that it's like 11 to 14 years before the Battle of Yavin, which would obviously be A New Hope. So
okay,
all right, that sounds about right.
That seems about right.
I'll agree with the people.
I support that.
I'll agree with the thing. I'll agree with the internet.
Yeah.
All right. Well, on that note, the Dunkin' Donuts guy has given us the evil eye, so we should probably pack
this guy and his evil eye. Man.
Seriously.
Thanks for purchasing a D6G Lost Chapter. Supporting the show helps it grow.